Podoh v'shalom nafshi mikrovet kibarabim hayu yomadi. The Pashas Advarim David HaMelech is thanking the Eibusher, the Milchama between David HaMelech and Avshalom, and the Eibusher redeemed him from this Milchama. So David HaMelech sagt Shvach v'Yidah to the Eibusher, the Podoh v'shalom nafshi. The Eibusher redeemed his nefesh b'shalom from the battle that he had mikrovli. Farvos kibarabim hayu yomadi. Now we'll see the prat. Case for Rabbi Azaken Balagula Basim. The Rebbe writes the Balagula Vitas Kislev. The Rebbe writes it to the Barditchever. The Rebbe wrote also the same techen to the Baruch Mezhibuzher. So the Rebbe knows that the Rebbe writes in the letter is Kshekarisi B'Sefer Tilim. The Pasuk Podoh v'shalom nafshi. The Fidik Rebbe says that the Tilim, the way it's nech like Lemei HaChodesh, every day of the month to say a certain chelik of Tilim to finish it within the month. So that Rabbi, even from the Baal Shem Tov, when Alma gesagt the shir Tilim, the way it's nech like Lemei HaChodesh. Fidik Rebbe was a farsim that everybody should say the capital Tilim. But Be'ez Tzara, the Rabbeim always said it, but Be'ez Tzara are special times, so the Alter Rebbe, the Rabbeim were meisif to say also the Shir Tilim, the way it's nech like Lemei HaShavua. So then, the Geula was Tuesday, so the Alter Rebbe was saying the Shir Tilim of Yom HaShlishi, and there's the Pasuk of Podoh v'shalom nafshi. So the Alter Rebbe says, the B'shas, there's also the Kapitel Mehei, so the Alter Rebbe says, B'shas, he was saying this Pasuk, Shekarisi B'Shir Tilim, Pasuk Podoh v'shalom nafshi, Kedim She'eschati Pasuk Shel Acharav, Yitzasi B'shalim Hashem Shalom. So that's a clear that Alter Rebbe clearly connects the fact that he left the Geula Vitas Kislev to this pasuk in Tilim, to the pasuk of Podoh v'shalom nafshi. Is madgish that B'shas was saying this pasuk before he started the next pasuk. Yatzasi b'shalim Hashem shalom. Umov mizeh sheteichen hakazav shayichu legulas Rabbi Azaken. We will see later the Hadgosh over here. Das versteht jeder einer, even in Pashtus, that the Alter Rebbe is saying Yatzasi b'shalim Hashem shalom. The Alter Rebbe left. The Alter Rebbe left the Meister of the Geula wasn't a way of Muhammad. It's not the pshat that there was a Muhammad zwischen the Chassidim over there with the government, and they overpowered the government, Mizgaber, and they fought over them. That's the way the Alter Rebbe was freed. The Alter Rebbe was freed in the way of Shalom. They came to after the whole Nechkir Drisha, they came to the Maskana that the Alter Rebbe is Zakai. That the Alter Rebbe is Vizak. The Alter Rebbe is so that's it. The Alter Rebbe is saying there's a dimin in the pasuk. The pasuk is a p'diyah b'shalim. So the Alter Rebbe says it's tzatzi b'shalim Hashem shalom. But the fact Alter Rebbe says that he was saying this pasuk before he started pasuk shel Acharav. So he got his goal. That means that the teichen hakasav is shaykh to this Kislev. Means azeva to mir gesagt. You have a pasuk Podoh v'shalom nafshi. So what's the dimin that they're both here happen shalom and there happen shalom? But let's say there's drashas chazal in the pasuk Podoh v'shalom nafshi. That's also connected to the goal of the Alter Rebbe. This pasuk, or only this aspect, without what Alter Rebbe is madgish in the letter. The Alter Rebbe is madgish in the letter that Podoh v'shalom Yitzasi b'shalom Hashem shalom. That means that the pasuk Kameish who is shaykh to the goal of the Alter Rebbe. And saying Stamazim b'shitchis Alter Rebbe gesagt that there's a remnants, there's a dimyan. Here the Geula was b'shalom and the pasuk is b'shalom. But the Rebbe is saying more than that. This pasuk is connected to the Geula of the Alter Rebbe, and therefore even the drashas chazal in the pasuk, which have nothing to do with that gush of shalom, let's say, of freedom and shalom. The Gemara in Brachis. The pasuk, this pasuk is connected to the Geula of the Alter Rebbe, because Alter Rebbe connects the Geula to this pasuk. The Meile, all the drashas chazal on the pasuk is also connected to the Geula of the Alter Rebbe. That's the Rebbe's meisik from Muhim is Sheteichen hakasav shaykh legulas Rabbi Azaken. The entire pasuk. Yeah. Is there? What is the Geula from the Alter Rebbe? Hine gulas Rabbi Azaken u'in afatzim hamayonash teres achsidus chutza. The Rebbe explains what's the pshat. I mean, that's versteht jeder in Repashtus even before the Yisrael. But the Alter Rebbe's Indian, you have the Alter Rebbe's in Meiser is a great zach. You have a Nasi B'Yisrael in Tfisa. But the Alter Rebbe represents the shlichus in the world. We make Chassidus. So the Alter Rebbe in Tfisa means that the Indian of Afatz Chassidus is in Tfisa, and the Alter Rebbe being freed from prison is not just a regular yid that he has his mitzvahs and then he has things that he does. The Alter Rebbe's whole most was the fact that he was meifetz chassidus, mafarsim chassidus. So the Alter Rebbe in Tfisa, in other words, means hafatz chassidus b'tfisa. But the Rebbe brings here more. Not only that the Alter Rebbe's Indian was hafatz chassidus, so mainly the fact that he's freed is a goal of teres chassidus. The Gabi the goal of Vitas Kislev steht mefurish in the Sfardim that the Alter Rebbe's meister was mitzad the Indian of hafatz chassidus. Yeah, that's. Gula is when the Hamayonas Teres Achsidis, Kedua, Shasibas Akitrik Meiser Lamata, Hoyim at the Shakvatari, Lamaila, the Hafatzas, Rosi Tere Bizgalia, Vache Gil Kolechad Bechel. Yeah, so the Meiser Lamata was a result of the Kitrik Lamaila. The Kitrik Lamaila was because Madgahaten that it's not correct that there is being Mefarsam Sidis. So the Geula means that his pashas of the Geula of Hafatzach Sidis. It's interesting. It's not just one of this. The Rebbe is mitzayin here. In this bar Baruch B'Kudesichas Chelik Lamed Amud 170. I don't know if they printed in the back, but it's tam interessante Zach that it has also to do a little bit with the Lashon here. Saying this Indian, what was the Kidrug Lamata was a Titzah of the Shakvatayr Lamaila, whether it's correct in Mefarsim Chassidus. And when that was on hold Lamaila, so maybe it was Nimshach Lamata, there was a Kidrug, whether the Alter Rebbe should continue in Mefarsim Chassidus. What's the issue Lamaila in Mefarsim Chassidus? The Rebbe's Lashon is, Kidrug Lamaila, Fatas Razi Teire Be'ezgalya Ba'achi Gila Kolech Ve'echad. So you stand, I mean, this Chilik Lamed, there's not a regular beer of why there was a Kidrug Lamaila for it to be a Fatas Chassidus. As the regular Avani is, the Rebbe brings this many times also, that there is in Teire, there's Razi Teire, and there's Gufi Teire. There's Gali the Teire, and there's Primis Teire. And the gather of Primis Teire is, the gather of Razi Teire is that it should be a secret, it should be a Seir, it's only Shizgalaver. You say the Pashta Dugma of you have the Moshe, the same way there's Nishmasi, the rest, and Gufi Teire, so there's the Nisham, the Gufa Adam, there's the Gufa Adam, and there's the Nishmas Adam. So the Guf has, Dover Gashmi, you can be tapis with Choshamishos, or with, you can see it, you can hear it, you can smell it. Mashiach and Neshama is a more ruchnistic thing. And there's other ways to be tefis than a sham. You can be tefis with a regular gdara of your tefis guf. So there's in Teira. In Teira there's gufi Teira, nigla derais, which is in yanim which are shaykhs to seichel. You can be tefis them through seichel. Then there's nishmase derais, razi derais, which is in yanim which are by definition this chelik in Teira is in yanim which you cannot be tefis them through yanim of seichel vasago or through the regular kelim that you would tefis galya derais. So Alter is being megalach sidus, megalach razi Teira. In the same eifin of through the lubushim of seichel, which is the lubushim of galya, that's heipach. The Razi Teira by definition is a secret. It means by definition it says Yanim of Neshama and Yanim of Halakus, which are higher than that they be delivered through the lubushim of seichel v'galya. That's a kitur glamayla. It's heipach the whole hagdar of this chelik in Teira. And the Alter Rebbe Pelgaven didn't know Fatzach Sidis because he's mamshach from Etzema Teira. It's at Etzema Teira not these like that's the in chelik lamed. The Rebbe says different beer. What the Kitur Gamaila was. The Rebbe says a whole different another. I don't know if it's Deilem Gedenkt. That's very interesting to say. Remember what it says there? In the Gedenkt. The Rebbe says different word. I'm just going to say the Rebbe says a whole different word. The Rebbe says the word be'etzem. The Rebbe flicked Radart Nashaila. How could Alter Rebbe with all the Biurim Chassidus the Alter Rebbe was mefarsim megader primis atere begilei the Alter Rebbe the Baal Shem Tov. As to we have a lach in Shulchan Aruch when they get how to be deirish ma'aser merkava. There's certain agbalas. There's agbalas not to learn Razi Teira before a certain age. There's agbalas of how to teach Razi Teira. You're teaching ma'aser merkava only to a certain type of Talmud, and to which there are none of which dinim in Shulchan Aruch. So how was Alter Rebbe able to kaviyachol halachas of Teira are not something which is told in a certain zman. Halachas are nyanim which are going to be ad le'elam elam. Halachas of Teira shlapeh. It's not in nyanim zmanim. So how is the Alter Rebbe able to be in the Baal Shem Tov megalach sidis not according to the dinim and agbalas state in Shulchan Aruch? As the Shas, the Rebbe is mevar over there. The be'etzem it says the reason why there's agbalas in Shulchan Aruch when they get to how to be mefarsim razi, how to teach primis atayra is not mitzad the chefts of primis atayra. It's not that primis atayra is a zamas sarzach, which the only way to deliver it inside the muhus of Teira, the only way it can be delivered is by learning it with a Talmud which is maybe midaita, let's say, or only biyachid and not betzibur. If the word the halachas were neveim, it's at the etzem muhus of this chelik in Teira, what you couldn't change it. But the word it's at the chefts of Teira, it's one Teira. And we made the same way nigla deraisa, the way that Teira nikras is through pilpal talmidim and shakvatayra, all the din in the shit in Pirkei Avos. There's the primis Teira should be is a chelik of Teira, and also that Teira mitzad the nature of that chelik should be able to be delivered in such a way. The reason of all the halachas Shulchan Aruch is because it's a chisaron in the people in Yidden in the Gavra. The Gavra is not a keli to primis atayra. Because the regular person is not a keli to primis atayra, that's why you have all these agbolas. But b'shas, the metzias is going to be mishtana, and the people are going to be kelim. But mele the agbolas are going to be mishtana. That's the Rebbe's ma'arich with it. So the kiddie event, Alter Rebbe gehalten, the Yidden are already in a matzav, they went through all the zechuchim, and they're already in a matzav that they're kelim for the person of primis atayra. Mashenkin, the kiddie gemalig event, efsher nishtazeh. So it's a whole different type. Not that the reason why there's kiddie was because by definition, the primis atayra can nicht übergeben werden through the lubushim of seichel. But inside the chefs of Teira, everything's equal. Teira and Teira is nit Teira tzivulonu meishav and Rashi. They even should give the whole Teira to every single yid. Kelo primus at Teira also. And B'meila and be'etzem mitzad the mahus of Teira, you should be able to be taught by Rabbi with the same way you teach nigla that I say mitzad the chefs of Teira itself. All the dinim of Shulchan Aruch is only because the gavra is not a keli. But if the gavra mishtanen is a keli, so the dinim l'chatchila aren't shaykh. It's a totally different beer than the beer of the regular. The Alter Rebbe is married there. The once the Alter Rebbe was at the Alter Rebbe, but Age passing that Alter Rebbe, with the Alter Rebbe sagt that the Yidden already kelim, so there has to be shakvatarian, primis atayra, and la pashala, face the whole. So that's a whole different beer. But in the Lashon the Pnim, it's killed both of these pratim. The Rebbe says the kitrug shakatar lamayla derech hafotzas rozi teira beizgalya. That's the word of being megale rozi derais begili, taking yonim of seid and tmura zeda der seid to make them begili. That's hepech the nature of this chiluk. And the word va'at shegil kolechet bechad, that there's no agbolis on legabi the gavra. There's no agbolis. That's the other prat which the Rebbe speaks in chiluk lamed. That legabi the adam there's no agbolis of who you can teach it to. Yes, this chiluk lamed is not the classic beer. Yeah. Oh, so this meiser was mitzad hashakatari b'negef hatzrazutera. Kasher hoya psak din lamaylu l'hafetz razutera. Va'ad rabbi b'yeser se'ez v'yeser az misha hoya koydem ha'meiser. So then mishas lamaylu from oge paskent. This battle b'meila din lamata v'yotzel l'cheres. Yeah, because the Metzias Lamata, b'frat when they get Messiah Yisrael, is a direct result. The Ishtalshus of the Nyan the way they are Lamai. It's not the Pshat. Regular people, everything's Mishach Nyan Masayin. But it's two separate things without Rebbe. But whatever happened Lamata was a direct reflection of what the Nyan were Mitzat Primi saying. So the B'shas in this Bata when the Kitrug b'meila is Yotzel L'cheres Lamata. So. Von dem verstandig, von diesem movement, sheteichen hakos of Podoh nafshi, even though the Pashtus Sakra is talking about to get to the Pdi of David HaMelech, from the Melchama of Avshalom had gewollt werden HaMelech, and David HaMelech was Podoh nafshi, from the Melchama of Avshalom, but it's shaykh to the of Fotos Teres Achsidus. So this inyan of being Megale Razi Derais, and being Megale in a way that every Yid is suited to this inyan, Kol Echad Ve'echad, that's the teichen hakos of Podoh nafshi. Gil Echad is connected to Podoh nafshi. Let's get in Zen. So in both of these pratim, side the prat of Pnimius being Nizgala is connected to Nukudah Podoh B'Shalom, and side the prat that does not bother mitzad which person is up to Mikabel. Both of these pratim are that's the teichen Pnimi of the pasuk of Podoh B'Shalom Nafsh. Let's get into that. So first thing is going to be the beer when they get to the Pashtus Sakra, and then Zak Frier, V'bad Al Rebbe connects his geula to the amiras pasuk. That means that it's a kesher. The Alter Rebbe connected means that the pasuk is connected. So al derech zeh the drashes chazal the pasuk is also connected. So here Omer Azal Podoh B'Shalom Hashem Mikravli. Omer, so according to the chazal, drashes chazal, so another zach. So Retzach Nish David HaMelech is speaking on behalf of the Eibishter. Omer HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That kol esik with the nafshi geitas of an Eibishter. That kol esik b'teira b'gmos chasad m'spal l'matzibur. So Maila and your love, the Eibishter is considers it as if ki ilu p'ta'ani li levane v'enu m'sayla. His goal is Ashchina, his goal is Yisrael, and B'shas, there's Shalim, which has learned esik b'teira b'gmos chasad and all the pratim. So he's paid the nafshi of the Eibishter. Yeah, they're all different types. So now, where is it? Oh, Pizi Shleimar. Once you have the Rosh Hashanah, Neisef Lashachas Apasteres Achsidus Latech Nakavs K'Meshu K'Pshuta, the Emikreyesim Pshuta. Yeah, that's the club. Even though you have drashes, if you have two drashes in a pasuk, so you have one drash could be deich another drash. If you have a yitur in a pasuk and you used it for one drasha, so then that's Maitzi or Eiker, the other drash. You don't say that. When it comes to Pshuta, you don't say that when there's the way drash touches a pasuk. So that's mafkia, that apitayra, that's the taich of the pasuk, and the simple meaning doesn't exist. In Mikresim de Pshuti, the pashtus, the movement of the pasuk is always a pshata miti apitayra. The pasuk never loses its pashata avana. And B'nai Zilazed is also a drash, but it's never seiser the pashtus de avana. It's not the pshat, once Chazal taich Podoh B'Shalom is going on the Eibishter, so that's Eiker, the pshuta shalmika that is going on the Odom. The pasuk is in Mikresim de Pshuti. Yes. What do they say? This the Rashi Sikh is that even when the Rashi brings a medrash, but it's not. But he doesn't quote a medrash. It's not. He doesn't quote a medrash. He quotes the medrash differently because the Rashi is not bringing the medrash. He's bringing the medrash the way it's mechuyev api pshat. Pshat is a chelik of Torah. That's how there's the havanas in the way it is api pashtus advarim. So Rashi is explaining Torah the way it is at the level of pshat. Even when Rashi brings a medrash, it's not that here he's explaining the pasuk api drush. He's using the drush in order to explain the pashas the kabban of the pasuk. But it's aim creating the pshat. It's not the pshat that. I'm saying Samazay. If you have the mashal in the last week's parsha, so the mashal says that Noach was bit by a aryeh. So what's the hechel pshat shemika that he was bit by an aryeh dafka? This is a medrash state there was an aryeh. So as Yivat Mergezog, Rashi's from this hechel lesson pshat shemika that he was bitten, that he is gegangen blood from him. He is geneach. Who said Dafkan But Rashi, but the Medrash says who it was. Well, why shouldn't you say it? Even though the Medrash says it, but if Api Pshat is not Muchrich, so it's at the level of Pshat, Lav Dafka was an Aryeh. So it was a Chayav Alma. It's not the Pshat that once you have the Drash, the Mele for sure a line. It's not that. Api Pshat, that means according to a certain level of Torah, it was Lav Dafka an Aryeh. The Ein Bikreitzim de Pshuti. There's the Taish, the way there's a Pshat. That's the blood. Okay. We'll focus on what it says over here. That David the Melech was nifted, not in a way of Muhammad, not the Pshat that David the Melech had to fight and there was a whole Muhammad, but B'Shalom he was nifted from the Merida of Avshalom. So there's a Shaykhs also the din of Esik B'Teira. Okay. Now, so now we have two muvanim in the pasuk. You have the musik al pi pshat, the musik al pi drash, and now the Rebbe is going to go through each one. What's the havana of the shverikaiten in the pirush? Hini pirush apasha because of zehu asher ki b'ram ha'yumadim sin astam le'pada v'shal nafshi. When do you have to give a reason for something that happened? If something regular happened, something standard happened, you don't have to give a reason. So I was looking for a Gemara and I went to the shop and I found the Gemara. You don't have to say, why did I find the Gemara? You don't have to, there's no because. It's meant to be there. Something that happens, shleike derech haragel, darfst du sagen, farvas getroffen. So Mashma says, if David the Melech was freed, that's a fact that if he would be freed from Avshalom through a war, and he would win him over, so then it wouldn't need a special nisnastam. The very fact that he was freed, okay, David the Melech is, Avshalom was a murdered b'malchus, and David the Melech was a grace at tzaddik, and David should freed him from his tzaddis. The fact that the P'diyah was in a way of Shalom, it didn't have to be through a whole war. But the Anshe of Shalom Gufa were masking with David and the whole Pratei Advarim. That needs a special nisnastam. Via ter zeiche given to such a way of P'diyah. So Avdem Zogli had a special schutz because B'rabim Hayyumah. It's sinastam. That's the mashmaz. He says, Heinish, actually, the Pashas of the Pasuk is B'rabim Hayyumah is in the sinastam. The Podoh B'Shal Nafsh. He says, Hein, actually is P'diyah B'Efen Shal Muhammad. And then we wouldn't have to have a special reason for this P'diyah. Then it's, then the Eibusher, for that very fact that he was redeemed is verstandig. David the Melech is a big tzaddik. But the special mile and the uftu, the yetzim and the kol of this P'diyah was, that was the P'diyah B'Shal. Oh, so the Tam verstehen zwei Sachen. First of all, what's this big mile of Podoh B'Shalom dafke? Someone was in Tfisa. One way of leaving was that he had to leichem zayin against the prosecutor's Zerton, and he won, and he had to make a whole chveis mundam over. Another way is they came to the conclusion that he should be free. Avad, there's a big gain by leaving B'Shalom. Different miles. It wasn't a big headache. Chveis verschiedene miles. But ad kedei kach that first of all it's a grace mile that he needed a special schus for it. And second of all, the shvach is not, say once a person is free, he's happy that he's free. Man of how he became free. The pashtus is, whether it was B'Shalom or Muhammad, it's just the eifin, how the P'diyah took place. It makes a big difference. Once he's free, okay, the pile, whether it was through a headache or not, it's gringer. It's more glatik if the P'diyah went without having a whole battle. But the pile, whether it was through a battle or through B'Shalom, is only nimtzai that he should be freed, should be redeemed. What's the grace from the Mepasik is mashma that the fact that the P'diyah was B'Shalom, even after he was freed already, especially in Sinas stayed down, the way the P'diyah took place, that it was b'derech shel shalom v'shalom. It was a peaceful redemption. And if it would have been not a peaceful redemption, so you would have had a temporary headache. So what? We're still going to be chaygig the fact that the P'diyah was in the way of shalom. Ad kedei kacha the pasuk would have to, and ad kedei it's so important. This inner there was P'diyah b'shalom. They need a special schus for it. When I've them let's have the pasuk. The pasuk is not eisen to stam as they say the etzem in the P'diyah. The shvach is the fact that Podoh b'shalom. What's so essential, so that we see from this pasuk, from the Rebbe wants to bring out the idea of P'diyah, the kneitcher of the Pashas Ram learned from the kneitcher is that he was freed. Shalom is just the way he was freed. Here it's nicht das. The diuk is that the P'diyah was b'shalom, and then b'shteit the uft of this pasuk, and then verstehen what's the mile of P'diyah b'shalom. P'diyah shalei be'efen shel shalom is nicht wegen dem Retzach da in pasuk, not the etzem fact that David was nifter. P'diyah b'shalom. And thus I'm understanding what's the matter from P'diyah b'Shalom and why Kiram Hayyumadi a Shaykh is Ram Hayyumadi the Podoh b'Shalom. Why tak is that a schus? Because when I love with me the father Kiram b'Shalom, what's the Shaykh is Zelazah? That's the and that's the Nekuda the reason Mamer Pichsidis the whole there's two ways of being paid a yid from his Nefesh Bahamis. One b'derech Muhammad, one b'derech Shalom. And there was Mamer in the Mamer the uftu of P'diyah b'derech Shalom. That's the whole Nekuda of Chassidus is till Chassidus the P'diyah was b'derech Muhammad. From the tzad shekeneged. The whole world is built that Zelu Mazal Salakim. There's a Muhammad between Kedusha and Klippa. So Tilchsid is the way to overpower Klippa was through Muhammad. The Uft of Chassidus is the Uft of La'asid Lavi is it'll be an Eifin of Shalom. That's the deal. Not the Etzem meaning of Gula. Of Nitzach and Ateva Lara. And Nitzach and Ateva Lara in a way of Shalom. And that's something that's the Prat. And the Tam is Misad B'Rabim Hayyumah. Now that's when you get to the pashtus. Hini b'drasha says Allah pasuk zeh was sagt dort in kol esig betel wants to all mat zibur. So Rashi is mefarish. Again, this shaylas are Rabbi doesn't deal with mefarish in the Mamer. Rashi says, where do you see in the pasuk? Where's the remes for esig betel? Because Torah is called shalom. Kol nesiv says shalom. So the derech of Torah of shalom. So shalom goes on Torah. Chen gmach also shalom is made on gmach. Because mach means shalom between people. Where is mispal matzibur? Where's mispal matzibur have to do with shalom? 10 people together, davening together, they don't have to be b'shalom v'shalva between themselves. Was buzetman in davening with a minion the inif from shalom. So that's enough kibrabim hayu yomadi. Ki the pirashashi sham kibrabim hayu yomadi she spadalu imi. So v'hainav shigimah nanem eilu terek mach v'tfil b'tzibur chakol v'es chalukas. Terek mach ini b'shalom. Tfil b'tzibur ini kibrabim hayu yomadi. So that's the first thing. 3 things are guided in P'diyas HaKadosh Baruch Hu, P'diyas Yisrael min HaGolus. Tfil b'tzibur, gemach, and Torah. Why is the pasuk mechalik it? That the 2 of them, Torah and Gemach, are nirmas in Shalom, and Tefillah B'tzibur is nirmas in B'ram HaYumad. So Chalash Chalak Gimel Nel Mishtei Chalukis, yeah, that's I'm verstehen. Ganzer Chalav Mash Amru Kolo Esig B'Torah, Shemedaber Kam Inyan O Adam Esig B'Torah, V'lei B'Inyan of Torah Gemach Tefillah B'tzibur Atzim. Yeah, it's interesting to shayla. So someone's going to say, just the Moshel Ba'am, someone says that you say, a person has a what's great in P'diyas HaKadosh Baruch Hu Me'agolus? Torah, Tefillah B'tzibur, or a mensch was tut in Torah. He's what's great in Gula. You say a door, something is locked. This key is the key that opens up the lock. Of course, you need to have a person to put the key into the door and to turn it. But what opens up the door? This key is the key which opens up this lock. You have sometimes you use using a mud in the marshal, you have a key that's betzim not masim to the lock. But if someone knows how to dreh around, he knows how to be misasik darten, but they can't effen in the tir. So you say one way is if it's a key which opens up opens up this door, you're going to say this key opens up the door. If you need someone to actually activate the key, but not that the person's asik with the key opens up the door. This key opens up the door. Or you say that a person's going to use a hanger dart to open up a lock. So the hanger opened it up, or you know how to move around dart, so you know how to open it up. So the Rebbe is saying here, why is the lashon that someone that's asik with Torah and Tzibur is great in Gulas Hashchina? Torah has the ability to be paid to the world from to be Gelas Yisrael. Tefillah B'tzibur. I mean, darf haben immer so lernen Torah. Versteht sich? Darf haben Torah auf der Welt. But the lashon is mashma that the asik with Torah. Not like a lashon amurgal b'kom makim a shleisha dvarim ha'elam ha'emet Torah v'aved g'mos chasadim. Of course, you need yidden to learn. You're gonna say Pirkei Avos. That's the fact that there's Torah in the world, not al zat, nicht al zat ha'elam ha'emet. At them as the Faran yidden must learn. But it's not that the yidden being misasik and learning the amidas elam is misachas to them. So that's not verstehen. What's the pshat? It's not a shayla in lashon. So he's not being ma'amid ha'elam. By him accessing Torah, the Torah is ma'amid ha'elam. For lashon kanu kol ha'esik. This shayla the Rebbe doesn't answer in the ma'amid itself. That's in the, I don't know if you have in the new Malukit, but in the old Malukit there's a sikha which is mitzurif to the ma'amid. So this Rebbe is on fire. Okay, there is no. Once the Rebbe explains that the Nekudah of P'diyah B'Shalom is through B'chinas HaYechidah of Torah. So in order to bring out the Yechidah of Torah, you need to have this Askus. The fact that Torah is great in Gulas HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mitzad the B'china of Yechidah of Torah. And the B'china of Yechidah of Torah is mitzad Atzmi bis Almas. Through a Adam ha'esik va Torah, bring Torah reis B'chinas Yechidah. B'chinas Yechidah of Torah is nimshach and is gathered through a Yid. Okay, that's what in Zen. The Nekudah, the Rebbe is in the Mamer, how the Nekudah of Torah and Gulas we're dealing with something which is connected to Yechidah Shabbanefesh, which is Podoh B'Shalom. And the Sikha, the Rebbe touches up how it explains these the Yukim. It's not Stam Torah itself, it's the B'china of Yechidah of Torah. Mele can verstehen the Hamshich Advar. Good. Well, Lashon Kanu Kol Ha'esik yet. Oh, so now, I'm saying what from the Yuvan Zeh, that's Tzchana Nai Inyan. That's not even Behemshich, so to speak, to before. That's a new. That's a Nai Inyan. Oh, the Yuvan Zeh behekt Mashik. This is used on the Mamer and Ein Hey. Have you started to print it? Okay. Humans have hacked Mashikos, so Yiducha Hashem Kol Ma'asecha v'Chasidecha Yibaruchuch. So all the Meisim, all the Nefraim are made to the Eibishter, praise the Eibishter, and Chasidecha Yibaruchuch. What's it that says? So the Kol Ma'asecha do Yiducha. Vashekin Chasidim Chasidecha their Yibaruchuch. So steht in Zayar, what's the grace? What's Yibaruchuch? The Pirish Yibaruchuch Yibaruchukai. So steht in Zayar. Mavar Admar Shmasid Mamer the Master the Podoh B'Shalom Ein Hey that Koi is the B'china of Malchus. The Yivarchu Koi will Hamshach Gilei Erba Malchus. That's what he says there. that Kaizman, that's first, the Parshas Advarim, that Malchus, as the Alter says in Tanya, that the fact, the Siba, why the Elam was created in a way that it's a Dover Nifrid, that it's not, that it's a Metzias which is different than a Lukus, a Metzias B'fnei Atzmai, which is not which is a Yesh, a Metzias, not a Keli to Lukus, that's in Tzviras HaMalchus. If the Savas would have been mitzad the b'china of Midas, Chesed Vura Teferes, Volten Savak Varnavel, but it wouldn't have been in a way that it would be an independent Yesh outside of Elikus. If the Savas would be mitzad Chesed, let's say, then the whole Metzias Elam would be just a b'china to bring out the Eibishter's Teiv that is Mashpia Lekil. There wouldn't have been, the Teichen of Welt wouldn't have been Stamazei heaven and earth. The Teichen of Welt would be mitzad Chesed. So, what does Tziras Chesed need to bring out? That the Eibishter, the Toiv HaBlikvol of the Eibishter. How is it expressed the Pearl? That he's Mahava Velt and he's Mashpia Mechayes Kol Ha'elam. B'Tuvei. That would be the whole content of what the world is. What's the world? A Pchina or the Metzias the Pearl, the Mimush the Pearl of the Eibishter's Chesed. Then it's not a Metzias outside of the Lukus. The fact that you have a Metzias of a Velt which is not an Inalaki being this Gala here. The Eibishter B'Shafan HaVelt, there's a Shamayim, B'Oretz, a Metzias from HaVelt, that it's a Zulas. A heaven and earth. That's in Tzviras HaMalchus. Tzviras HaMalchus, without going to the Pratet Dvarim, it's Tzviras HaMalchus, Melech B'Layam, the Am is not the Hemshech to the Melech. The Am is a independent Metzias, other than the Melech, far from the Melech. The Am is Rechekim, Zorim Rechekim Emaylas HaMelech. So in order to bring out the Eibishter's Malchus, that from B'Shafan HaVelt, which is distant from the Eibishter. It's not behemshich to any Elikit. It's a Metzias B'fnei Atzmai, Shemayim B'Aretz. So that's Malchus. And the male Ader Malchus is so the Eifen Ashpo. So Malchus Peh. Why is Malchus Peh? Because you say the L'moshel Nefesh Adam B'Pashtus, a person is the Seichel Midas of a person. A person's regesh. A person feels chveis. A person has a certain feeling or a certain havana. Another person, can be margish what the Reuven is being margish. Shimon can be margish what Reuven is being margish. There's two different people in two different worlds. So Reuven the giluim of his nefesh, he's a keli for it. Shimon is someone else. Shimon is not a keli for Reuven's giluim. But through Dibur, you're able to communicate to someone else what's going on by Reuven. But when you're giving over the inyan, when you're communicating it to someone else, the regesh who by the Reuven can't be given over to Shimon. It's how much, since Shimon is a different Metzias, so it's how much Shimon is able to relate to, how much Shimon is able to understand. That's Koi. Mitzad Malchus, the Gile Lukus in Velt is an Eifen of Koi. Koi means it's not the Lukus Kameshu. It's a Lukus, the way a Lukus Kaviyachol is able to be Mislabish and Misalim to relate to the Metzias. So Malchus is called Koi. Sai the Eifen Esavas of Malchus is in a way that the Nivra is not the Hemshech to the Beir. It's a Metzias of Natzme. Al Dara said the Chayes Lekis, the way it's Nimshech in Malchus, to Velt. Mitzad Malchus is an Eifen of His Almas. So it's Koi. It's not the Inyan the way it's Zed, the way it's this Inyan itself is the way it is in Lukus is Nimshech in Velt. It's the Inyan the way it is in a way that the Nivra, the Zulas is able to be taken. It's P'chinas Koi. And Malchus Mitzad Atzmai is an Eifen of Helen. Since Malchus Mahava Zulas and the Chayes the case with Nimshech Malchus in a way that an Elam is nicht mehr Lukus. The Uft of Chasidecha is that der Mamshech Gile Lukus, Gile Er Malchus. What is Gile Er? Es soll mehr sein die Inyan Kameshu Malchus. That's Gile Er. Not Mitzad Malchus alone. There's also going to be Ashpas involved, but it's going to be in a way Aderech like Dibur where the Gile Er of the Nefesh can't be mehr to the Zulas. The Zulas is the Chatzveite Nefesh. So through Dibur you're mailim the Hisgalus of the Keiches, and you give over the Inyan how much the Zulas is able to be Tefes. You're giving over to him with your Regesh or your Havana the way he's able to understand, not the Inyan and the way they are by you, and their Meir begili to him. How much is able to be Tefes? That's Malchus that's much. Eged Uft of Chasidecha is Yivorchu as Meir Zan Gile Er means the Inyanim the way they are in a Lukus. Those Meir Zan begili in Velt Gile Er b'Malchus. That's a special Uftu. But Davke Chasidecha can an Uftu. Nemer v'Chasidecha Yivorchu Chodam Shachazu b'Kei Chasidecha. I don't know if Misami they don't say the Hemshech, but you'll see the Dir Chasidecha means there's Rabbi Shalom the Mamer speaks that there's different dargis of tzaddikim. There's tzaddikim, there's Yesharim, there's Chasidim, so that's in the dargis. So you have tzaddikim. We're not dealing with stam as a p'chin of tzaddikim that are you have gittin which never sinned. The Alter says in Tanya even a tzaddik that's meiz bara. Netach tzaddikim that are mamshech and change the Metzias Eilim, mamshech gidei lekusim vel and they transform the Metzius, and Andrini. Like the beginning of Basa Lagani, you have Shiva Tzadikim, Sheiridus Ashchina Umay Lamat. So given Tzadikim Farah Avraham Echet. But they were Tzadikim, Chanech was a Tzadik, but he didn't change the Metzius Elam Atanish Gebitten. For sich alleine, hat Kemelish gesindigt, the Rizmayis Bara. Then you have Tzadikim that they're Mamshech, and they changed the whole course of Seder Shlashlis. Ba Avraham Hitzchel Ahoyer, San Andrini. And they started to be Mamshech Ashchina Lamata. And with that in itself, the Retter in the Mamer, and hey, there's Chassidim, there's Tzadikim, there's Yeshar, different dargis within this. So Dafke, to be Mamshech Gile Erbama, Yivarchu Kai, Dafke Chassidim. The Shaila is what Dafke Chassidim. You have Tzadikim Echad, the Lashon Medrash, Tzadikim are Mamshech Ashchina Lamata. Gile Erdem Welt is Eich Tzadikim, was Dafke Chassidim. So das liegt dazu. So that's the Rebbe, it's a Kilo Shaila. Was after Uncle Dafke, even the Eden of Gibi Mamshech Gile Lukas in Welt, Avad it's in Niflomai, was that Chassidech Dafke, and not Chveis other Yesharim and Tzadikim. So the Bainin who the Zeh Chassidech Yivarchuch, Besmichus ubehemshech Leiducha Hashem Kol Maasecha. It's not the pshat that we're saying two separate things in the pasuk. Maasecha Yiducha, and then Chassidim come and their Mamshech Gile Malchus. So Retzach Vosfara Hamshacha der Mamshech. Ki Hamshacha b'Malchus Adei Chassidech Mimakem Naila Me'eit. In Sof Shalom Maila Mishtalshalus, Shin Shaykh Be'esa Hasaga Ele Yidah Yiducha. So that's a mid. Mamshech Gile Malchus Mitzadatz is not mechayiv. The b'china. I'm saying even if you're Mamshech, there's a lakus the way the Eibush is mislabish in Sfiris in Kelim. The way the air is mislabish in Chachma in Chesed. Even that Indian, the Pelam Mitzad Malchus, it comes in the way of his almas, in the way at how much the nivra is a Keli l'kabel. The uftu, that's a big uftu. There should be meir chesed. The way it is in the lakus, das allein zal meir zayin in Welt. It should be meir in Welt when a yid's mekabel chveis mezayne. It should be meir begolei that it's the isgalus of the Eibusher's chesed. That's the uftu gadol meir. Nachon so that's the nivra wouldn't be a keli to sashim. But that's nicht for them. That's for shom chasidecha. That the uftu chasidecha is that a mamshech hazam esert eir which is higher than the eir that mislavish v'kelim. That's Yiduch Hashem Kol Ma'ay. Vui das Merum is in the pasuk. Or mamshech eir shalamaylim mislavish v'kelim v'malchus. For them, that's an uncle mitzvah chasidecha. Where do you see that we're dealing with an eir shalamayla from mislapshus? The lashon pasuk is it's coming mamshech to Yiduch Hashem. So Yiduch Hashem Kol Ma'asech. But this Yiduch is nimshach begili in malchus through chasidecha. Yeah, the Elam knows this. Yeah, the Alter Rebbe is masbir. Saying when you say the word Yiducha, Hidah. Saying Hidah, what does Hidah mean in Chesed? But the Chesed Mavar that you have Meir Chacham that have Meir. So if Alter Rebbe says, if you're going to say that Chachamim the Adam Achleikis and Rab Meir has a masbir event and he convinced them that his day is right, so they're not made it. They are lein halt nazir. They themselves agree with what he said. The Lashon made is not shaykh. They allein verstehen as it. So what's the pshat? They're made it to him. We use that Lashon. We say, I agree with you. I agree with you. Why? Because you realize that that's what is right. It's verstehst dich allein as it. But the Yiducha means that even though in Hasaga verstehe ich nicht the day of Reb Meir, but you recognize that you have to be made it what Reb Meir says. That Reb Meir is higher than you, and he has a deeper tfisa than you. So I don't understand what he's saying, but I come to the recognition that I have to, that what you're saying is correct. Not because I understand what you're saying. Because I come to the recognition that you're on a higher level than me. So Hidah means that a person acknowledges the emes of an Indian which is higher than his kid. That's the Nekuda of Hidah. So the Rebbe touches here, Yiduch Hashem Kol Ma'asecha. Red Minish Ma'asecha when you get Elam Hazah. Red Ma'asecha the B'chinas Achil Yenis. So you have a B'chinas, Kol Ma'asecha, Elam Esel Yenim, the Hechsta Dargis. So there's a B'chinas of the course which a Nivra is not able to be Teifis. It's not able to be Neskabel in Kelim. The Hechsta Kelim was a Kenner Zayn. The Hechsta Musig of Metzias. It's Erin Sof Shalomayla Meseder Shlashlis. Mayla Mishlashlis. So the only way to relate to this Indian is it's Neshayach Sasaga, the Pshitas of Alakus, higher than Kelim. But you can come to it, but Mizmaita, Miveis, that the Rebbe is Ein Sof, and higher than our Hasaga. Not that you understand it. Chacham lo yochlu lamed the same deity of Reb Meir, so they were made it to Reb Meir. They realized his aflav and nishmat verstanden. So that's that Yiducha is the Dagan Elokus, which the only way to relate this in a way of Hasaga, because he's beyond the whole meaning of Hasaga, beyond the whole meaning of Tzir and Metzias. So Mamsh is the Pshitas Elokus, the Eretz of Abligvo, which is not shaykh to any of Hasaga. Das Mamsh is the Malchus, that you need Chasidech. Now, them like the Rebbe zu Nachavar, the Etz, in fact, to bring Eretz Sof and Malchus, echt nicht as Aflav. You don't need Chasidech for that. The Uftu is to be the way they're Mamshech Eretz Sof and Malchus. To be Mamshech in the Eif and the Brach is B'kei Chasidech. That's going to be the first Arichas. saying every Indian over here is to be mamshech gilui eire machos zechidus. You say there's shalshus. Mitzad mitzias advarim, mitzad mitzias eilam. The yesh is not a keli for gilui eire. It's omer zan alukus. The even shall gilui. The inyan and the way they are l'mayla should be meir l'mat. Azulas. Keli to the Indian kameshu. That's alone uft. But that does have them come and onkommen to tzaddikim and andere darges. To be mamshech erin sof in Welt, not stam the elukus which is shaychas the kelim, but the Welt is much lower than that. The mamshech erin sof the way the Eibush is ba'atzmei, higher than kelim, higher than asaga, higher than mitzias. The erin sof kameshu. That to be nimshech in Welt is avada chidush niflamay. That should be meir in elam hazeh. Even that does have an echt nicht onkommen zu chasidach. Nicht in dem besteht da flow. Da flow is to be mamshech in a way of bracha. And then besteht uft. Let's get to Masber. What's the? That's a couple of shlavim. That's it on the Rabbi. So here I'm saying this. The element of Mamer. Yeah, the way I'm just this up. But the way the Rabbi starts is first the musik of bracha and tefillah pashtus, and then how the bracha and tefillah symbolize two efan and the way the kusus nimshach in Welt, or the vitz verbinden the Rebbe in Welt. But the first pashat the musik of bracha tefillah the way it is pashat in regular musag. But that results from the two efanim of v'mamshas and alukus in Welt. Bracha tefillah. Okay, this is it. Gdei lahav in Gedel Ila dam shachvei v'de bracha ma'amakim shu haya yido. And was besteht the Gedel Ila shebezem to be mamshich in a way of bracha von a zasser darge, which dorten is a shayches in of asaga. The way alukus is din of eating sof l'mayla mishnal shalus. So he's makdim in the Mamer and I'm is a chilik min bracha l'tefillah. Pashtus advar. Shebekol echadem yishmayla legabi zolos. V'oinim. So frier hebt er Masber sein the Mayla bracha. Tefillah imamata l'mayla. Your person is lamata, and he asked the Eibush to be mashpiyim certain hasheva chayis. Chayis the ki imcha makir chayim. The Eibush is the makar chayis, the makar hashpa. And the nivra is lamata. Bet b'meibush, and the Eibush should be mamshechim the hashpa m'mayla. So that's the tefillah. Mata l'mayla. Mispal lamata mavakesh yishpiyah l'mayla. That's tefillah. Bracha m'mayla lamata. Shamavarech l'mayla me'asher shemen nimshach zabracha mamshechis l'mayla lamata. I'm saying the dugmas that we're going to say. You say a person himself. A person could have the potential. Let's say, can learn it as a the pile mamash. In order for him to understand the sugya, he's going to have to. It's charayin ligen in them. Be mashkia seichel and be mashkia me'ach. So you see, mitzadatzmei in his mind right now in his me'ach. It nicht melubish to keich seichel. And b'meile vet design davonas sugya. He's going to have to activate his me'ach and be mamshach his keich seichel. They should actually start learning. That he's bekeach to do. You have the bias over your keich seichel. And the gets machlet zayin areinlegen sich in a certain sugya. But you have, let's say, lomer zog in order to understand this Gemara, you have to have a higher level of seichel, which is pnimis hanefesh. So we can't access that argument. If you would have the ability to be mamshach that, what given anders. So you have a bracha is you have the person gefin sich lamata, and there's the hashpas. There's no hashpas chayis to him in his guf. Lamata wasn't hashpas chayis. But you have in his shadish, you say b'dikus they say b'negei to the nefesh. You have the seichel amalubish b'mayach. You have the seichel that you're able to access without yigiyah. Let's say you have keich seichel which through yigiyah be able to be mamshach. You have keich seichel the way it's in a deeper way in primis and nefesh. If theoretically it's also in your share, you have the keich seichel the way it's behelam and nefesh. Theoretically, if someone would be able to be mamshach from his keich seichel of the nefesh, what gekent sein at teseves hashpa from a keich seichel to the nefesh. So there's in the nimshal you have a person lamata. The mitzias lamata there's a certain from the shadish of the chayis of the person. Bis verdem shchamala lamata get the ganze seder shashos. In the chayis lamata shein limazel. So the hashpa doesn't go directly from atzilas directly to lamata. It goes through all seder shashos. So you can have that it gets stuck somewhere on the way. So and the mavarech has imitzer which she has the yechelis to be mamshach the Indian from that darga lamata. As a person has the ability to be activate the seichel because you have a bias, you're higher than your seichel. You have the ability to be mamshach it. So derech zeh you have a yid that he has he's higher than Yitzira. Let's say. So you have different dargas. You have let's say the ashpa was nimshach and asiyah ruchnis but not elam hazagashmi. So you have a yid that he has he's in tune to the inyan that they're higher than asiyah ruchnis. Can a mamshach from asiyah ruchnis lamata? Or you have a yid that's higher than bria. You have different dargas. Different brachas. You have different stuff. Nicht was game and meises, but I'm saying that certain chveis daily Yisrael. I'm talking about the Yidden Mushad Dargis that there were this in it they weren't able to be mamshach. They had to send you to another tzaddik to be mamshech. It means there's different dargis in which madrega dartin you have, they're able to be mamshech lamata. Because the idea of bracha is that from the shefa, the way it is in the sherish, to be mamshech lamata, to the nimshech lamata, to the mizbarah. So that's the nekuda bracha. Bracha may lamata, shamavara is the diuk here. The mavara chula mayla me asherish v'nen nimshech as bracha. And because he's lamaylo, mamshech is lamayla lamata. Yeah, this week's parsha. Just to see. Zeh shebrachi b'derech tzibur. The far bracha is always b'derech tzibur. It zol zayin azeh. Why? Kibbutz shamavarich lamayla ma'asher shemen nimshach zabracha b'keichel etzavis. Means he has the ability that the Indian, the way it is lamayla, a person has a resource of something. It's my thing. I'm able to give it. I'm able to give it to someone else. So al derech zeh the bracha is a yid which has a bare haste. That the b'china b'tzirish of nimshach lamata, so the b'china b'tzirish is somehow meshubetin nimshach lamata. So the mavarech is hecher from the ashpa, the way it is in the sherish. And that's also the beer why brachi dafke misha keichel barach nish yadei convention. K'mei Avram Avinu shalom la'bracha keish baruch hu habrach is nesun islam. Asher ilek v'tfila shkol echad yochel ispal. The same as shkol echad nistavel ispal. Parshas is not we learn that the parshas of the bottom. It's not a yichus. Everybody could daven. You're not affecting anything by davening. It's nish that's it. That's what we say later. By davening, it's not if you're davening, you're not affecting anything. You're just asking. So about everybody could ask. What's the grace? Yadei kefreg. In Parshas, you say the chiddush is maybe to say you have a in order to get a meeting, in order for you to have a request, you have to be a psak choshev mention. So yeder einer can bet my mibishter. That's means you don't have to be a dargim yechedes in order to be mevakish from the Eibishter Azach. Yeder einer can bet. Not only that, miznistav levakish. But the Rebbe later is meisiv even more. Lepel tefillah tutu is yet tutu fetes, and the chiddush is everybody can do it. But Kaplan here the word is. Bracha, which is milmayl lamata, so you have to be takayid, which is hecha from the sherish. Tefillah, which you're asking, that even if you're asking, and to say your request there. So anybody could ask. Why? Because you're taking up, even though you're lamata, you're able to, you're being mevakish, mamat, mele against the flavor. Why? So from Mizem Uvenes, Hamayla Bracha Legabi Tefillah. Why? Because Tefillah she bakosha shem shichos hashpa ein vados shetismala bakosha. The Rebbe saying here is Svetlav Daf Gezayin. See later in the Nimshal what the Rebbe wants to bring out the Gabi Chassidus, the Gabi Nigla Derais, and what's Bashteta the Uftu. But the Rebbe saying here about is first of all, a Hamayla the Mavarech is in a higher darga. We're talking about a Maila in Bracha, not a Maila in the Mavarech. There's not Ace in here to explain a mile in the one that gives brachas over the one that davens. That's not. We want to bring out here the mile in the amshacha b'derech bracha over amshacha b'derech tefillah. That's what we want to bring out. Of course, the mavarech is higher than the mispal, but that's not what's negiyat the amshcha ma'im. What the Rebbe wants to bring out that Chassidus has the mile of bracha. This whole arichis Chassidecha dafke is there's a special hamshacha and a way of bracha. What's the mile of once you get the result? That's it. Tefillah. Once you get it, what's the grace to uftu that it was through bracha dafke? The mile of the Amshach Bracha is that it's a davar vade. It's a v'tzicher zayin. There's no sfeikis. It's a v'tzicher nimshach ben. That's the. We'll see when they get to the Inyan. We'll see why this is pratis negeh. So this is the mile of Bracha. Tefillah shiva kosher is other name. In badosh this mile of kosher. But Bracha shiva derech tzivoy vade shetum shechashba. Kivin shama barach b'keich leitzavos. So it's a davar vade. Interessante Sache. Or 15. Mit gesehen das. אפשר לי עיקו וקבלת השפעה מצד המזבורך, שאין הקהל אבל כיס בזה, אבל לי בהמשך השפעה מצד המבורך. It's not Pashut Pirush Amilis here. Amol Machonatah. So we're just the Rebbe is saying here. You have let's say in the Mashal you'll say you have or let's say the Dugma that Chassidus always brings that the Friedrich brings that the brach of the Rabbi could only like a derech like rain is only going to be matzmiach and a karka cherusha. So you have one eifin is that someone's mamshach, someone's masber svara to Talmud. The Talmud is not a keli to the svara. So the idea wasn't nimshach lamata mata. So the Pashas the Galoshes mashma is that mitzad the bracha mitzad. There's no problem with Ashpa. There's a problem with the Makabal. He's not a keli. So if he's not a keli, it means that Ashpa wasn't nimshach on his level. So then it's not b'derech vade. What's the Rebbe saying? It's Ken Zayin Amor that the Mitzad Mevarech everything is good, Mitzad Mashpia, but Mitzad Mekabel doesn't equal. What does it mean the Mekabel is not a Keli? He's not a Keli means that he's not, you say, Imit says Mazbra Seichot Talmud, And the Talmud, and he's even with after all the Hesbedim, the Talmud is not a Keli. He's not Roy to understand this word. So then the Hashpa wasn't Bishlemus. He wasn't Mashpiyah in a way that the Tachton is able to relate it. So that's a Chisar in the Kabbalah, Chisar in the Hashpa. So it wasn't, if that's the tight shear, the word is, Mitzad, the Ebesh is Namshech Hashpa Mumata. Of Chaya, whatever we're dealing with in the Mashal. The Poil, the Adam Lamata is Guf, is not a Keli to this Chayas. So that means that the Guf, that the Chayas wasn't Nimshech in a way that relates to the Guf. That's Chisar in the Hashpa, not a Chisar in the Makab. So it's in Vados. So what's the mind in the Pnim? That it's not a Vados, Namshech. The Rebbe is saying that the Ikuv is a different Ikuv. That's the Mashal of the rain. You say, what's the Rebbe's word that Habrach is Adarech rain? Rain, the fact that rain is B'keichel Atzmiach, that's not a person. In Elam Hazagashmi, you have Tipas Geshem, which are B'keichel Atzmiach. Doesn't have to go to a lower level. The difference is, in order for the rain to work, the karka has to be Roy, has to be able to makabel the rain. That's something else. That's not like when they get at Talmud, where the Rav gave him a svara that he's able to understand. But the Poil, whatever means that he's not a Keli means, not that the Inyan is on a higher level than him. The Inyan is able to affect Hashpa on his level. But the Poil, he has to be focused. If he's not going to be focused, he's saying, Karka Zruah. There's rain. And the rain is B'kayach Latzmiach. Not B'kayach Latzmiach on a higher level. The Hashpa is B'shleimus. The rain is B'kayach Latzmiach. But if the Karka is not Chorush, the Karka, so the Karka is not able to, so the Poil is not going to be Mismamish this brach. Not because the Inyan wasn't Nimshach Lamata Mata. You have an Eifin that the Inyan is Nimshach Lamata Mata. But there's an issue Mitzad Mekabel that there's a blockage from him. Not because the Inyan is not on his level. Because the Inyan is on his level, but he's blocking it from being Nimshach. If the Karka is built his Ruah, there's a rain that's shy, but the Karka of Poil is not what I'm saying. That's the diak over here. So, I want to bring out here that in the Nimshal, we want to bring out that Hashpa b'derech bracha means that it's bevade nimshach lamata. Bevade nimshach lamata. Either lapel we see that a bracha comes and it has tnaim. That's not tnaim. It's at the hamshach of the elim. That's tnaim. Lapel, the makabel is going to turn his face away. I'm going to give you. Someone gives someone else a $1 and he turns away his way and pushes it away. Good. That's your problem. Not because nothing's lacking in dashba. That's neget. The Podoh was saying that when you say yivarchucha, the hamshachim inside the yivarchucha is in a way of vada. There's no havamina that it shouldn't affect elam hazeh. So how does that fit with the musig of bracha? Lapel and bracha we find the mata that the kudbeg was. Then sagt the Rebbe, bracha is vada mitzad the hashpa which is nimshach. What the mevarech is doing is always b'derech vada. If the makal, he needs sometimes the makabel's involvement. That's something else. But mitzad the mevarech in it is b'shleimus. It's b'derech vada. That's negeh for the reason why it's negeh lahadgir is that's negeh for the bosmavila race limit from the Indian. The gabi if two efanim and hamshach so lokasim bel. The steif is the Medina. Mevinim adover azeh. Good. Mash einkin. That's the mila of bracha. That's vados. Oh, now the mila of tefillah gabi bracha is that it's a higher hamshach, a higher darge. Ba'hamshach atzma. The hamshach shadei tefillah is nailas yesu. Inyan abracha ulahamshich mashik van nimtza ba'amak. But not a new Inyan. It means whatever is already. You have the nivra lamata. You have he has this neshama lamata. There's a neshama nasiyah ruch. It's a dargis. The hashpa already exists. There's already a hashpa of chayim. The nimshach and the sherish shemakar of this nivra. But the problem is that it's not nimshach lamata mata. So the brach is mamshach lamata. But if it doesn't exist b'chlal and metzias, the hamshach of chayim for this person. There's a stirtish nishtalshalos. B'tzadish, you have a yid which is sherish shemakar is b'tzatziras achesed, let's say. He's nimshach tzatziras achesed. And imisabel mamshach and lechveis meichente. But the poil, even such sherish shemakar, in this type of reality, there's no chachma, or a certain chin of chachma. In this metzias b'sherish sherish achi elyon, there's no musik of chachma. That's a different Indian. So that's nicht mekanish mamshach sherish shemakar. Even within the highest dargis, his neshama is not connected to this Indian of hashpa, which we want to be mamshach. So, but can be mamshach sherish shemakar. So for that, and in it, what does it say? In a Muslim, she's coming to Mamer the Chodesh. In that fidu, bakash magdish baruch gam bim lo yesh nachas v'shal mashpa gam ba'amaker means v'lo eid el shenigzer olo sheyachele means a seder shtashalus he cannot be mekabel the same. There's a system l'poel, and mitzad seder shtashalus mitzad the seder the way Hamshachas Lamayla work is the same in Elam Hazagashmi. You have sometimes when there's heat, let's say, or the sun is beaming, so it's dry. So you're going to say It should be water. The world, when the sun is shining, there's no space for moist, let's say. In the desert, there's no space for moist. So inside the Sheresh Makar of a desert, there's also no space for moist. Sheresh Makar of a desert is connected to the Vivacious, or of Shemesh. This reality is a midbar, and it's a Sheresh Makar Achi Elyon, he's a stira to the of Lachos, let's say. So not only there is no Lachos, Chaim is a stira to Lachos. Mitzad the Gdorim of Seder Shlashalos, this Mitzias is a stira to that Mitzias. So you have an Eifon where you have a Nivra Lamata, each Yid has his function. You have a Yid, not only this function doesn't contain that in it. It's a stira Yanin. Niggas will Mala Shia Chel. Watch out, why niggas there is some will sein schlecht. I'm saying, Mitzad Seder Shlashalos, this person has to be in such a state. But Duk was like we're going to say that in the midbar there should be rain. It's not the pshat, it's a felt regen. It means in a midbar. It's a makim chayim, a makim vivacious. It's heipach that rain. You want to make a new mitzvah something else. The mamshech rain in a midbar is going to be heipach, is mitzad g'dorim of mitzvahs. Can it say? But the Eibishter is he created the whole musik of Seder Shlashos, the whole system he created. If you're mamshech on the Eibishter himself, can a mamshech zayin yerregen, even in the desert. It's a different Indian. But that's mitzad insaf. Mitzad that dargel which is before this is gestalt geworden. The whole Gidrei Seder Shlashos, mitzad that dargel you don't have the limit of the system that was schon is gab mitzad Seder Shlashos. That darf get through tefillah kemen. Das kann mit brache kann nicht uftan azazach. Through tefillah kann nicht uftan azazach. That's in that every single pashtus. In that tefillah Yid's asking the Eibishter himself. Shigam bim lo yesh chas shal mashva gam makar v'le there's a nigzer lov sheyachel chas shal makes, but it means that it's heipach hamitzis it's a seder shlashlos mekomakim tum shechle ashpa chadash eren sof shal malim shlashlos yeah v'zeu shem kamat to see here rots in pirish here rots and she rots in chadash means a nu am shachin dot so it means an rots in chadash means that a dark inyan which mitzad in mitzis was still not nimshach so nimshach var an naya am shachin dot was nicht gemeint für mitzad insaf. Why dafke through tefillah? So brach hat me verstanden why brach is with der vada is because the mavarich is with der tzibur. It's hard in the sheish when mamshach brach. Why is tefillah mamshach meitzah? Pash is going to say the Frierdiker Rebbe is mashach. No, I think there's say why say there's how do you say there's the middle class and there's the first class in the train in Russia. So you say who goes in the first class? Middle class is all middle class people. Who goes in the first class? The Gvirim and the Armalite. For us, because a regular person he buys his own ticket, so he doesn't have enough money to pay. He goes to the regular class. The only even for the regular class hat nicht go. Saivus has to take from someone else. So already taking from someone else is all schon gain effort of yanim cheshbon. He's going yanim cheshbon all schon sein first class. So that's the part you're asking. Anyway, you're asking the mispal is lamata. He has no kayach to be mamshah. So you're asking, you can ask for anything. What's the problem? You're asking the Eibishter himself. You don't, but the Rebbe says it's nicht das. Hatam hazeh shamshach is chodesh hu adei tefillah dafke, ki l'maisi yadecha tichsev. V'lchein adei tefillah avedas hamata magim l'nirsav shemalim yishtalshlos. So even b'pashas al penigle, why is tefillah, what tefillah is? Chassidus, sure tefillah is avedas hamata. It's the niver being mezach himself. The Rebbe is dealing with the regular musik of tefillah. It's a musik of avedas hamata. Because the musik, a person says that is a yeshu mitzias, and a person is a zay mitzias. To ask someone else for something is a certain achno. See, to go over to someone, to be needy to someone else, and say, please, could you please give me something? That's a certain achno and bittul. That's avedas hamata. Yid gave bet by the Meibishten that he's being mevatel himself. The mata is coming to recognition that he doesn't, he's not self-contained. So the Meibishten and that beim beten, that's achno. That achno, the bittul and the yeshes of the mat of the tachtin, that was their bet. That's me'er. That's me'er. That's in them. B'lemaisi yadech tichsev. What's me'er the Eibish's primis ataynig is the avedas hamat. That a person himself is machniya himself. It's not the pshat avedas. By the bracha you say he's mamshech omalad. He has access. Here you're getting the Eibish's nachasruach. It doesn't mean that it's going to have to result in the Eibish's. You're mamshech and you touch the primis ataynig of alukus. It doesn't mean that it's going to have to result in being mamshech anu amshach to you. So the poil, the milah bakosha is not b'derech vada. It's a suffix. But the poil, if you want to be mamshech something from Ein Sof, what reaches Ein Sof is avedas hamata. Tefillah, the bittul and nivra. L'chena, the tefillah avedas hamata megillah Ein Sof shemalim yishtalshlos. So pizeh, but verstehen gedel ile abrach. Sham shechosi magush ve'yayidah. So here you have mamish bracha b'shtei amaylis. L'chor says tarti desasri. Your mamshech hadarge, which is Ein Sof shelamayla mi makar hamitzias. Ein Sof shelamayla mi seder shtalshlos, mayla mi shtalshlos. And it's nimshich in a way of bracha. And it's nimshich in a way b'derech vadoy. I'm a mayla mate. That's the mayla of Chasidei Chadav. Hana shadi bracha zu nasa ratzon chodesh hamayla de tefillah. Va'afa v'kein, he late tefillah b'kosha ala bracha, b'derech tzivit. That is not saying that the Mavarech is higher than himself. We'll see the plot later. But the Rekud is, I said before, what we're bringing before when we get to the Ma'ila Bracha like Tefillah is not the Ma'ila of the Mavarech over the Mispal. It's the Ma'ila in this way of Hamshacha or that way of Hamshacha. There's a Ma'ila, the Hamshacha of the Tefillah is a higher Hamshacha or a higher Darga. The Ma'ila of Bracha is that it's definitely Nimshach. Here we have both Ma'ilas. The Ma'ila of Ein Sof and it's B'derech Vada. B'derech Chod, not B'derech Bakosha. Oh. And I then bring the Rebbe. This is the chlolistic Indian that's brought name. Who al derech the Isa Yerushalmi? We'll see later a big emek in this Yerushalmi. But state in Yerushalmi ala posuk but tigzer emer vayokamach. Pashat varim is tzaddik macht gzeira is geyser, and the Eibishter is mekayim. Tzaddik geyser gish baruch mekayim. But the lashon apart the Yerushalmi says state in the posuk that the Eibishter doesn't agree with the tzaddik. It says the tzaddik, whatever the tzaddik says vayokamach, the Eibishter is going to fulfill for him. But the Yerushalmi says, "Afilu hu omar hachim." The Eibishter sagt, soll der sein kach. When a tzaddik sagt verkehrt, die doch keima die diloi kann. I think it's brought with the vayokim loch. It's mashma the vayokim loch. Means mitzad the Eibishter himself, but doch nicht gewollt durchführen der Sache. Because you said so, I'm going to do it for you. So Yerushalmi is medayik that the Rechna Pasuk is even if beim Eibishter kommt es, there's mitzad seder shlashlos. Der sein anders. HaKadosh Baruch Hu means the Darga of Elokus is already connected to the Sheirish Shemakar Ha'elam, to the Seder Shalashos, even though mitzad that Darga, mitzad Seichel HaTeira, let's say, or mitzad Inyan, we have mitzad Seder Shalashos. Darva zayin in a certain way, but mitzad Tzadik Geyser is the Doch Kaima the Dilai Kaim. There's going to bring later, Kama Mamer Chazal, but I get to this Nekuda of a Tzadik being Geyser, Kavayochel not Kfi Das Kutshe Brichu, and Tzadik Geyser HaKadosh Baruch Hu Makayim. But this lashon of the Yerushalmi, we'll see later a special deal. That even though Kadosh Baruch Hu Amar Hachin and At Amar Hachin, the tzaddik sagt anders, the doch kaima di dilei kaim. What you say is going to be what's going to get gained to the dilei kaim. Zeh Kadosh Baruch Hu mevatel gizras from gzeras tzaddik is mitzad Ein Sof Shamal Meseder Shlashlos on one hand. And it's the even of Gzeir. Tzaddik mamshech rotzen chodesh hamal de tefillah. He's mamshech meir in sof. Shel ma'ale mikutsh brichu. Kutsh brichu is a darga the way Elokus is mitzad the way the area is mislabish in seder shlashos. Mitzad that darga there's gdorim. And so one at the tzaddik is mamshech meir in sof shamal mi seder shlashos. Even bit like Gzeir hu lei adi bakosha adi Gzeir es tzaddik. Malas abracha should be derech tzivit. So we have to understand what's made with this kamash love in the Mamer. First the Rebbe is meidich to Kama pratim and get what's that flow of Hamshacha b'derech bracha. It's Kama pratim b'zeh. Then we'll have to understand what's the pshat that Chassidecha are able to accomplish it. That's the. So here the Rebbe is mamshich. No, this is a. You gave weiter a bissel. You gave weiter. Where was the Elam holding? Huh? This is a ganze Indian. This Indian. Okay, we'll go weiter. Mamshich by Mamer Hamshacha shadei bracha the Chassidecha der Hamshacha shadei teir. This is says the Mamer. In the Mamer, you're looking at hey, everything comes as a bracha and Torah comes as a bracha. There is each prat is another diuk. There is a Mishkin Posh the Indian though. So we find that there Torah. We see this type of Indian through Torah also. Torah b'chlal. Al there Torah nas shini v'chidush b'eila. Haynu shenasu davar chodesh lohei gam shesh makar eila. V'ashini v'achidush sholei b'derech bakosha ki v'tfila ela b'derech meila. So we find this in a yid which is connected to Torah. Kemen durch Torah mishana zayin. Die mamshach hamshachas in the world. Also hamshachas which are not in the sheirish hamakar. And b'derech bracha, not b'derech bakosha. What's the doing that it brings the Mamer? We'll see later. The Alter means the Rebbe is coming to explain. That's in Zachta through Torah. Can be mamshach in Yonam Shahad and Seder Shlash. The Alter means look at the Torah. The Alter says the Pichas ben Yair. So we said he told the Nor Ginoi Norach Chalek Li Mimecha. So Kreis Yamsov macht the ganze Yom Tov Shvi Shal Pesach. The Eibishter is Hafech Yom Le'Abasha. Pichas ben Yair, he was going for Pitin Shvuyim, and he made a Chalukas Anor. Machtash Ken Shem Zachnish therefore. So Alter says Kreis Yamsov was only a Maila before Matan Torah. Once the Yid has Keich HaTorah, once it was Matan Torah, since Torah Lamata, so it's not a Chiddush that the Yid Bekeich HaTorah could be Mevatel the Metzias about. That's so. But it's not again the Prat. I just want to make it that some word. So in Ayin Beis he says, when you look in the Mamer, it ends up being very, the Rebbe makes a whole thing out of it. But the Mamer sounds like it's being, also Adit Torah, you have this idea. And it brings a dogma from Rashbi. Could have brought other dogmas. It brings Rashbi. It comes as a, but they're saying that, why is it being Dafka Rashbi? Could have brought many Musagim of Tanaim. And the Rebbe explains, when you get Tariba, Meifsim of Tanaim, that is Bekei HaTorah. Why does it mean Dafka the story of Rashbi? Because within, he means a certain type of Amshach HaShadit Torah. A special Chiddush. We can them that's not what I say. So what's the do when it brings 9 bays? Rashbi, that then there was a matzav, there was a gzeir of it as sham. Brachas hat nicht geholfen. Rashbi durch sagen Teire was namshach gesham. When Rashbi himshach yiridas gesham adi amiras Teire. Chdish dir is schon achish in digzach die jetzt schon der klar that some day shav shavas hasen chat. It was a gzeir. It means the world wasn't roy then. Mit tzei der shlachos for gesham. In jedem tzei so. And usually it has to be that it's tefillah. And Rashbi hat zuget auf, der Amiras Teire, sam shachov der Chamel, bli aved vigia. Oh, so this does steht in ein base. So the Parsha said dogma baum. So first of all, dogma. He was masbid bracha. What gets through their word that in Torah we find this type of Indian that it's erin sof b'derech hamshach b'derech bli aved vigia. Without aved samata, without l'mayla. What's for he said there has both mouths. What is that meisiv? What's the message of Rebbe Shaila? Why does this? What is that for two leg in the Mamer? So we shleim as koze ba Mamer sham shorash ad yabrach chasidach ikmei am shorash ad Torah is there abdi lo habi dugma am shorash yesh b'shtei amaylas. But legam shad di dugma zu mit a beer ba ili de chasidach yabrach. We mean a mitis in it. There's different dargis in the musig of bracha, and we meet over here, and there's different dargis in the gabi what's for am shorash. And we meet, and the Meli brings this dugma to clarify what's the It says like this. Why? Start there is a fire, the chores, the vormatzu. Start there. Ayde es kater shalem im shichu gilair in sof shel malim yishtashlos. That's doctor there. And the Rebbe says that's why it's not it's not such a pella, but kommt es what do you need to do with Rashbi? Gam bam shach shad es kater te khatane bam miraim. Hoy shnein yon mana. Ade es kater shel nas shine be khidish bayel. Khidish amidish le gam shesh makar ela. It was the khlukas anar. That means in the or there was khlukas anar was a khidish. Kamei khlukas anar the purpose being to put on shine be khidish gam le gam shesh makar ela. Means the fact that mayim lamata are nigar or you say they flow is not that's because it's not the sherish makar of mayim ad lamayla. Biz this makar from whose hates the makar of mitzias is eizgeshta that as that certain mitzias has to be in a way of flowing. So that's what the mamshig given chlukas anar that is mitzad erin sof shel mayla mishtashnos. And the shini nasel ade bekosh al de tzivi shenashbi amal de brach shmi derech tzivi. So what's bashid this? Vishlema shachidish bezeh shenashbi him shechidish gesham. Ade mir ist terle gabe mit zum Schuss kommen zu nehmen mit rein ade ist kater shalem u azam sort wort shini be elam shna asu kotne va miraim u ade atziv va gzeir shalem prigas ben yard tziv ve gazral anarsh yachlik ismim it's gonna face we're going to see later what's the image of here the prigas ben yard means there's a mitzias of welt mitzad the gedorim of seder shtashalos it should anar should not be nechlak. Mitzad Eidin Sof, you don't have these agbolas. Mitzad the Mitzvah Sa'ilam and Nar cannot be divided. Eidin Sof is not Mugbal. So Eidin Sof is going to overpower, even though the Nivra, Mitzad his Gedara, the Nar cannot be divided. Eidin Sof is going to prevail, let's say. So the Tzivui, it had to be with their Tzivui Yugzeir. Means we were Mamshach and Shacha that Be'etzim the Mata wasn't a Keli for it. And the Mata is Menugat it. Mashik and Rashbi, Rashbi didn't say any tzivui as the lamp nimshach and you just sham go. Rashbi gezakt Teire. They didn't say we know nothing. And mitzadem said gezakt Teire in der Welt gewarnt as it. Shlei beder tzivui gzeir. Means it was nimshach as it wasn't in a way as I'm understanding the Hezbollah, the Rebbe is going to explain later. The Rebbe is just saying that's the word. Not the pshat that mitzad erin sof. The mitzad mitzias ha'elam, there's certain hakbalas. Mitzad ein sof, you don't have hakbalas, and the bligvul of ein sof overpowers the gvul of elam hazah. It's nicht das the word. Mitzad Rashbi is another Indian. So where there's gala azam a certain Indian, which the gabi that Indian lechatchila felt is not a stir. A whole different teich. That's b'derech vados. Yeah, b'derech vados. say the Rebbe teaches the Ma'ala Bracha is vados, but you have two types of vados. You have vados. The tachten lepoil is not a keli. This in you. The difference of that is gvul, let's say, and the air is blikvul. And the nivra is not a keli to the air, but the blikvul is stronger than the gvul, let's say. The poil, the tachten is not a keli for it. So the vados is lacking over here. The poil, there's a darge in mitzias which is heipach the hamshach. The Elnin is going to prevail, it's not chazak. But the poil, there's a darge which is still to the hamshach. The word of vados he wants to say is that it's not shaychas beifanacher. The uft of Rabbi was gesagt Teire, nicht gedacht teisen mechlal. Once he was megal the Teire, automatically the world became that way. Kilo, there's no such a menaged b'chal. There's a way of being mamshach ein sof and ha'ifin, not that you have to overpower the hagbolus of Welt, or the metzias of Malchus, the yeshus of Welt. Mitzad this inyan, Welt is echazeh. So that's a mitzvah inyan of derech vados. So the Mamer wants to explain, was nicht stam as vados, that because you're able to be mamshach l'mayel lamata. Because Meretvek and Azam starts the same way you say when you get to Brach, Amavarich. Why is it so clear that Amshach is going to come? Because there's no Managit. He has Bekeichel Tzavis. Al derech they have being Mamshach Eidin Saf and Velt in a way that there's no Managit. That's the mitzvah in of Brach, of the mile of Hamshach of Derech Brach. That's why he brings this dogma of Rashbi.
And the bitu of that is that there's no need for tzibur.
No need for tzibur. When do you have to say tzibur? When do you have to? I enforce something to happen. When it means because I said so, you must do it. So the tachton is opposite. It means there's someone which doesn't agree with my program. He's programmed otherwise, but the way I want, that's going to overpower the way he's programmed. In Rashbi, he wasn't fighting with anyone. He was not geheißen that the vote should be one way or another way. But as he was megal Torah, and Welt automatically became that way. So that's a midas b'derech vados, that there's no opposition before. So it shouldn't be opposition mitzad the darga which Welt is a kelim for, that's verstanden. But mitzad insof, and insof l'man mishtei d'shas, in a way of bracha, and they were saying, and the dugma of Rashbi, not in a way of tzivur, b'derech hamele, that's a special in of daf chasidach hadat. Tzadikim azay, mitzad tzadikim Welt is a spirit of Lubos. This is a special Indian, it's at a certain darga that Welt L'chatchil is understood. The Rebbe is saying it as I'm saying the background, but the Rebbe is saying it as before, just putting down the etzim, you say it. He's going to explain what the Havana is later. He says, he's not explaining now what's the, so what, it sounds like a good, that's going to be the whole Hemsh Chamayim. But Ashbi was how they, the Pinners we had to say, and he told him that if you don't listen to me, you had to threaten the Nor. Means it was heipich the Nor, and he had to overpower the Agbol of the Nor. So והחידוש is מצא די מירס תרת רשבי, ודגם שבט שאמר לו היציבי כלל גם לי ברמז. מכאן כבר די המירס תרת שלי נאצי רז כשם. He didn't have to overpower anyone. What's the Havana we'll see in them Shchamayim. ועל פי זה יש לומר, זה שמביא במיימר הדוגמה דרז כשמה די מירס תרת ובכדי לרמז, wegen dem Ratzon. It's not סתם הדוגמה. Wegen, this is the mitzvah in a bracha. Mitzvah in a bracha is not the etzem zach der mamshach in sof in Welt. If it's b'derech tzivu, so it's not the truth of b'derech hamil. Bracha means it's nimshach with ars ishtavus v'yigir. If you have to be mitzvah v'geizer, it's not the true hamshach of b'derech hamil. And we're dealing with here the hamshach which needs dafke chasidecha. That's hamshach in a way of Rashbi. It doesn't zen. And in order to understand that, that's it when the Rebbe read in the ganze Indian. First he goes into what's okay. We'll see. You mentioned a bit what we learned.